And now, time for weekly show with a passionate India lover, chairman of ITV Gold and Parikh Worldwide Media. Get ready for loving sharing from physician, philanthropist, publisher, and India advocate in this week.
Hello and welcome. It is that time of the week again when we have the honor of welcoming Padma Shri recipient Dr. Sudhir Parikh in our weekly show, that is this week with Dr. Sudhir Parikh. Namaskar, Dr. Parikh.
Namaskar everyone.
So, Dr. Parikh, let's start with the last week, like 10 Democratic senators, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, joined Republicans to pass a GOP-led spending bill to prevent government shutdown. So, was this like a good move by Democrats, or do you think like they want to just, Trump get another 6 months to drive his agenda?
No, I think they didn't have much choice because they were afraid that if they don't support the Republican Senate to pass the bill, then government really will shut down. And if government shut down, then a lot of government programs will be suspended. And then as President Trump wants to cut the government anyway, kind of trim the government size and shape and spending. And so they were afraid that it will be done automatically and then it won't come back.
Right.
So that was their that's why even Schumer first told to oppose it, and within a few days he made a U-turn and say, okay, go ahead, we'll support it.
Okay.
So they had no choice. They were kind of in the bind. If they do what they wanted to do to oppose the government and not to support, but then if they do that, then government has a free hand. And then you cannot blame government by not starting a program which they shut it off.
Right.
That's why I think what they did is it's a wise thing, and what Chuck Schumer did it a couple of days before that was an unwise thing, and he looked bad actually.
So, but in a recent CNN poll, the Democratic Party's favorability, it is at a record low. So, do you think, is there any way that they can recover this?
No, because there is no leader right now.
Okay.
There is a lack of leadership there, and that's why they are just kind of complaining, but they are not putting themselves together and have some kind of a plan to oppose the government, whatever action government is taking, if they don't agree on that. And I'm sure that there are so many things they are not agreeing, but they don't have any good leadership to put together in concrete way.
All right. And recently, like President Trump, he has asked the Supreme Court to let him end the birthright citizenship. So tell me, what's your take on this power struggle between judiciary and executive?
Well, I mean, it's not power struggle, but I think any change in the constitution or something called or any conventional thing to change that judicial system has to get involved and to make sure that it's a right thing to do,
Right,
and or it is legal thing to do according to constitution. So there are two voices are there. One voice says, particularly Republican voice, and President Trump's people are saying that there is nothing in constitution that you should give the citizenship with the birth of the person. And the people are saying that no, we are doing it now, it's conventional thing for many years, so it's kind of like as good as it's in constitution. So we don't know which one is right, but I think both has a point, and now somebody has to decide. And if it is not in constitution really, then president can change.
So, this month, the retail basically spending in US has gotten much weaker than, last month. So tell me, like, I feel it's definitely raising concerns that, American shoppers, they are like cutting back. So do you think our economy is slowing down?
Well, our economy, whole world economy is slowing down, and as you can see that our GDP was from 4% to 3.5% or 4% to now they are predicting 2%. So of course it's slowing down. That doesn't mean that it's a recession because 2% of the 30 trillion economy is a lot of money. And also in the worldwide also all the countries economy GDP is slowing down. For example, India's from 8.5 to almost 5.5 now or 6%. So everybody's suffering. Now the only concern they have is or their prediction is that because of this tariff, and they don't know what is the final shape of all this tariff. What President is talking about, it can lead to temporary kind of recession-like situation. But it's temporary because if you look at all the large company, trillions-dollar companies like big tech company, big banks, and all those things, if you look at their all earnings are good. So it means they are growing very well, and they are spending their capital spending also good. So chances of recession is very small, and I'm sure that Fed will intervene and cut the interest rate probably before it goes out of hand.
So, but when you say temporary, what does temporary mean? Temporary, is it like long-term temporary or short-term
No,
temporary?
very short-term temporary because it all depends upon how the tariffs all end. What happens, and then there might be temporary slowdown, but not in USA probably because USA has a very large consumer market, and so chances of having a kind of deep recession or bad recession is unlikely according to the expert.
All right. So now let's talk about our National Intelligence Director, Tulsi Gabbard, visiting New Delhi and meeting Prime Minister, Defense Minister, and other officials. And, India has kind of demanded like action against Khalistani terror group. So tell me, will we see some like cooperation on that front?
We don't know because I think how the USA perceive the Khalistan problem as compared to what we perceive as a Khalistani problem. So hopefully by educating Secretary Tulsi Gabbard, I think chances are that they may address our concern. Because our concern about Khalistan is completely different than USA concern about Khalistani. Because USA looking at if they are Khalistanis are American, then they are looking as American citizens. Unless they do something bad or some attacks or some terrorism or bomb, otherwise they are not interested in probably intervening them.
Right.
That's the thing.
All right. So I hope, did you watch this podcast about Narendra Modi ji
Yes.
with this, US-based podcaster and a scientist? So he definitely had got some positive comments, and, even President Trump put it on the Truth Social. So tell me, like, Prime Minister Modi gave some, like, comments about, like, India-China relationship, which were positive. So are we witnessing, like, another like dance of the dragon and the elephant?
Yeah, I think so. It's a kind of diplomatic goody thing, and Prime Minister has praised the President Trump, his administration, China, relation with China, Russia, everything. So I think it's a good, feeling good podcast interview. And in our newspaper today, in Desi Talk, we are getting the whole front page story, and we are highlighting the whatever our Prime Minister has said. And of course, we all, being an Indian American, we like that personally because, we always support our own Prime Minister back home. And so I think it's a good thing. and it can lead to probably less friction between the USA and India in that tariff war, hopefully. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. And even Modi ji commented on that about Pakistan. So tell me, is there any path for improved relationship between India and Pakistan?
Probably not, because both the countries are using the India-Pakistan thing as kind of good story for or good narration for their own internal consumption or political consumption, and therefore I think it's kind of difficult.
And let's talk about the NASA scientists, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams. They are returning to Earth after their 286 days of space odyssey. So tell me, what are your thoughts on their achievement?
No, I think they achieved achievement of what, NASA, or achievement of the astronauts?
I mean, both. They stayed
Yeah, I
there
think
for so
NASA.
many days.
I mean, that shows this that NASA, even though NASA is a very successful institution where they have done so many this kind of programs. But as you can see that they are outsourcing also a lot of things to because this was also outsourced to some private company. So I think NASA should not rush or should reconsider too much of outsourcing to the private companies, because that way you lose the whole control. And I think it is unfortunate that they went for 9 days and they stayed there for 9 months, and which is not is very difficult situation for those astronauts. And I think we feel bad about them. And on the air without gravity and staying 9 months without much supply there, or there might be even supply, still it is very difficult for 9 months. So I think NASA has to learn that even though they are not perfect yet, and still anything can go wrong, and if this is a lesson to learn, that should not outsource too much to outsider or private companies, and do it themselves, so they can have a little better control of the whole thing.
I'm just thinking, since you're talking about it, you as a doctor, they were in space there for such a long time. 9 months is a long time. Do you think when they come back to the Earth, it impacts their organs,
Yes, I think they're already going to get a complete medical checkup and everything, but we don't know what is long-term health effect on them being there in the space for 9 months. So this is the first time it happened, so we don't have any idea. We'll see what comes out 10 years from now.
Absolutely. And I feel, even their hands, their everything, their feet, probably the way they are there, it's a challenge.
And challenge for them to rehabilitate after coming here, because I'm sure their skin is different, their joints are different, and their ability to even think is different.
Absolutely.
So we don't know what are the real side effects or adverse effect of this whole thing.
Absolutely. So now let's move on to our favorite round, that is the rapid fire round. And my first question is here from Neeta from New Jersey, wants to know that as you listen to Modi ji's podcast, so her question is he positioning himself as the world statesman? Yes or no?
Yes, I think he would like to, yes.
All right. So Tarun from California is asking, Maharashtra's Chief Minister Fadnavis has linked the unrest in Nagpur to recent movie Chhawa. Is media such an influence on the society? Yes or no?
So they say that danga hota nahi hai, danga karaya jata hai. So I think danga never happens by itself, spontaneously.
Okay.
It's always somebody after instigating that.
Okay.
Which party we don't know, or both the party we don't know. So I think it's an unfortunate thing, and it should not have happened.
All right. Som from New Jersey is asking, with recent train hijacking in Pakistan, should they focus on internal security rather than Kashmir? Yes or no?
Uh, I mean, not. I mean, two different things, and they are going to. I mean, they should focus on internal security, but they also going to continue focusing Kashmir because that's their political advantage, internal political advantage against with the people.
So your answer is yes and no, both.
Yes and no.
All right. Tapas from Connecticut is asking, who has the upper hand in Putin and Trump peace talks?
I think Trump will have upper hand.
Wonderful. Rekha from Delhi wants to know, with recent incident of another social influencer Ori eating meat and consuming alcohol in the holy place of Katra, are social media influencers becoming new stars and need to follow a moral code of conduct? Yes or no?
I think they should follow the real moral codes of that religious conduct.
Okay. All right. So that was that for today. And so before you give out this week's message, I want to remind our viewers that you can follow Dr. Sudhir Parikh on Facebook at Dr. Parikh, and you can also follow him on Twitter. The handle is SUDPARIKH. Please go ahead.
Dear friends, as you know that the stock market is dropping and people are getting panicky, but I would personally advise that this kind of drop of 10% or 12% is kind of very routine after market went up almost 3 to 4 years, last 3 to 4 years. And of course, this market currently is so sensitive to any news and every news about the tariff and what President Trump's new policy of the economics and all those saying. But eventually there will be a short-term, probably mild recession. But otherwise, it should be okay in long term. So do not get panicky. Do not sell your stocks. Hold on to good stocks, and you will be surprised that this is probably you will when you look backward. You will find that this was great opportunity to buy more good stocks. So after that, saying that, let me say goodbye to you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.